I want this to be an interactive conversation. At the same time, there's a lot to cover when we talk about this mitzvah, this deed of pidyon shvoyim, which means to redeem the people that are in captivity. Pidyon shvoyim. And there's a lot of Talmud about it. Does anyone know when the first time in the Torah there's a story of someone being taken hostage?
I would say Egypt and the slaves.
Okay, that's one. Okay, but it's not the first.
No.
That's good.
It was one of the brothers' sisters got kidnapped. Dina, yes.
Dina gets kidnapped, yes, by Shechem. And that was a situation where she was literally taken by the king's son, who said, I want her, and he forced her. And a terrible, terrible story with Dinah, but even from her, something very, very good came out. And even though she went through such a challenging situation, something very good. What else? That's not the first story. There are many stories of hostages in the Torah. Avram and Lot. Good. Joseph. Avram and Lot is the second hostage story. In Judaism, always look at the first. When you look at the first, it has a message. The first story of hostage is Abraham and Sarah. Abraham's traveling to the land of Canaan, and on the way there's a famine, and they say to him, no, you can't stay here, there's no food. He goes down to Egypt, and Pharaoh takes his wife Sarah. And he says, please tell everyone, to his wife, he says, I know that you're beautiful. That's what every man should tell his wife one day. I know you're beautiful. Please don't say that you're my wife when we go into this town. Why? Because in the olden days, it was derogatory, it was disgusting to be with someone's wife, even in the outside world, in all the witchcraft and all the craziness that was happening. It was, if someone's married, what they would do is they'd kill, and they liked the woman, they'd kill the man and take the woman. So he said, please don't say that you're my wife, say that you're my sister. And that's actually also the first time you see that someone's twisting the truth for the sake of surviving. Say you're my sister, and she does. And they take her. And then God makes Pharaoh have him and his whole palace have a plague. They all start getting sick. This is the first plague. This is before the Jews went down to Egypt. This is Abraham, the forefather. There was a plague, and they all got sick. And then Pharaoh goes, what did you do? You said it's your sister, it's your wife. If I would have known, I would have never taken her. And Pharaoh gets a realization that this woman, Sarah, is his wife, is Abraham's wife. The story tells me something very interesting. You know what the story teaches me? That when it comes to hostages, there's a certain point where it's not in our control. And that was the story of Abraham. He had to go to Egypt. He had nowhere else to go. There was no food. He went down. It wasn't in his control. He did everything he could. And when it's not in your control, who takes over? It always takes over, but who openly takes over? God. So Judaism says that in a place where there's hostages, especially when it's out of our control, God takes in. He always takes in, but especially here, it's like, at this point, we've got to fight. But you've also got to know that it's what's out of our control. We have to have a lot of emunah, a lot of faith. Okay. That is something that I wanted to start with. And then I wanted to tell you the second story. Oh, I'll tell you a story, by the way. I just heard this. Rav Ashraf, a big rabbi in Israel, tells a story that he heard from a mother of her son is taken in Gaza by the terrorists. So she told the rabbi, you know what happened to me? I got a phone call from a number, and I realized it's coming from Gaza. I decided to answer it. She answers, and on the other side is the terrorist, and he says, I have your son in my hands. Your son is in my control. And then he says to her, I want you to do two things, and I'll free your son eventually. He says, go to the UN and complain. And complain about the genocide that the Jews are doing in Gaza, that Israel's doing. Stand up there, you as a parent of a hostage. And also, I want you to, what did he say? He said, I want you to protest the government in Israel. Why? Because that causes rift. There's no problem to protest for the sakes of the hostages, although I do believe that bring them home should have been changed to the language of let them go. Okay, but whatever. And the reason for that is because who needs to bring them home? Israel or Hamas? Right? Who took them in the first place? Why is the blame on our brothers and sisters? So that's why the language, bring them home, it was taken, I don't know if you know, but in Africa there was a whole bunch of girls that were taken, and then they started that movement called Bring Them Home. And I don't know, you remember that story? Yeah. They were taken by a group called, I don't know, it's an evil terrorist group in Africa. Oh yeah, what was it?
Is it Al-Shabaab?
Al-Shabaab, I think, yeah. What was that? Oh, no. What was it? Maybe Boko Haram. And it was bring them home was when it started. But the truth is, yes, bring them home, but really it should be let them go. Just like we said in Egypt, let our people go. Moses said, let them go. So anyway, he says, go and protest the government. So she says, I want to tell you something. This is how she answered on the phone. I want to tell you that my son is not in your hands. You're making a mistake. My son is in the hands of God. And I want to tell you something else. You yourself are also in the hands of God. You think that you are in your own hands, you're controlling the situation. You yourself are in the hands of God. And she puts the phone down. And that is an amazing level of strength. It's the best answer you can tell somebody who's abusing and controlling and doing something so evil. You think you're the one in control, telling me, go to the UN. You're telling me to... You're not in control. God is in control of the whole situation. And how true is that? And I want to tell you a few more things about that idea. But the second thing that we see in the Torah about abduction hostages is Abraham and Lot. And this is very important. You know why? Because if you know this story, the whole situation right now will make a lot more sense. What happened in that situation? What was the story? Does anyone remember? Lot lived in Sodom. He had a lot of cattle and sheep. He lived in a place called Sodom. Sodom got into a war. 4 kingdoms against 5 kingdoms were in a war. Sodom was, the Sodom and Gomorrah. They were a very evil group. They were part of the 5 kingdoms. The 4 kingdoms beats up the 5 and conquers them. So there's 9 kingdoms of worth that are in a battle, and they were all taken over by these 4 different kingdoms. They take Lot as a hostage, as a captive. And Abram's in his own place, and a refugee, somebody is able to run away. Not a refugee, what's it called? When someone runs away from... A fugitive. A fugitive runs away, and he comes to Abram and tells him what happened, and that his nephew was taken captive. And they knew about Abraham. They knew he's a very influential, wealthy man. So they said, well, take Lot and hold him hostage against Abraham. And what does Abraham do? He has 318 soldiers. Abraham himself is a giant, and he goes to fight the war. And he says he's going to fight. And he fights with only 318, can you imagine? And he wins the battle. He uses God's names, and he uses dust, which turn into arrows, and there was a miracle, and he wins the battle. Boom, 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 bada bing, boom. Takes down 9 kingdoms worth. Guess what happens? They come up to him, and they start getting on their knees. The kings get on their knees, and they say, well done, Abraham, you won the war, but please, don't take our money, and don't take our wives, don't take our children, take everything else, take our clothes, he didn't say don't take our money, just don't take our lives, take everything we have, take our clothes, take our money, take everything, just keep us alive, because in those days, you fight a war, You fight a war to the end. That's how it should be. Okay? So they said, please don't kill us. Spare the women and children. And what does Abram say?
Okay.
He says, I didn't come in for money. I didn't come in for clothes. I don't need your clothes. I don't need your money. I came in for Lot, my nephew. I came in for life, and I will leave with life. I don't need money. I don't need clothes. I didn't do this for power. I didn't do this for fame. I did it for life. And he came, he took Lot. He could have had all that money. Walks away with just Lot. God comes to Abram in a vision and tells him, wow, well done. Because of that, I give you 2 mitzvot, 2 commandments. Because Abram said, he didn't just say, I won't take the food, I don't want to take the money. He says, I won't take a string or even a leather strap, a piece of leather. Nothing I want from you. I just want love. That's what he said. So God says, oh, you said string and leather? I'm going to give your people, your future generations, 2 very big mitzvot. 2 ways to connect to God with the body. And that is tzitzit, which is the string, and tefillin, which is the way that we wrap and we make a blessing. We wrap God's name on our body. Shaddai, we put God's name on our body. I'm giving you 2 things. The string, tzitzit, and the tefillin. Guess how every soldier runs to battle first? What does he do? He does tefillin, and what else do they do? They put on the tzitzit. Isn't that crazy? And what does that represent for the Jewish people? That we fight for life, and we go for life. I don't need your money. I don't need anything you have. I don't need your cash. We came here to bring back lives and keep ourselves alive, which is called a milchemet mitzvah, a war of mitzvah, and that's what we will always do. So from Abram, what do we learn? That we would fight a battle, or we would get into war, and we are lions. Kigur aryeh ata. You're a bunch of lions. We, the Jewish people, will fight. But what for? Not for money. We work hard to make money. We will work to make money. We will fight in order to have life. Because we scream lechayim, for life. Isn't that a beautiful people? We connect to God. We're here in this world for a reason. If we're in this world, we're here for a reason. Because we need to choose life. We need to choose good. When it says in the Torah, choose, it says choose life. That is our mission. And how do we choose life? By giving, by tzedakah, by kindness, by good. That's how we choose life. What do they choose? Not only do they choose death, but they ask for more death. What do we want? I'm taking your hostages, and I want my death people back. I want my terrorists back. They are not innocent young children. A baby of 1 year old that is now 2 in their hands. That's ridiculous. A baby has become, already almost, 3 or 2? 2 in their hands. A new little baby. What did he do wrong ever? But for some reason, there's a moral equivalence between him and the 1,000 terrorists that are considered like as if a swap deal, a deal. Can you understand this? But we don't care what the world says, because we come for life and we will leave with life. And with this, I'm going to start the class. I didn't start the class yet. With this, because I really want to get into what it means. Once you know the approach, we have to know, once we know the approach of what life is, then we need to, and why we love life so much, then we can start our discovery of what Jewish law says. But first understand how we value life. We really do. It's everything for us. Okay? And every time in Judaism we say a moment of life is worth more than the whole world to come. Why? Not in terms of pleasure. In the world to come, that's where you enjoy what you've created. This world is like an artist. You're creating a beautiful art. You're creating. And then in the next world, you move back and you see what you created. That's what this world is like. So in our understanding, yafeh, what does it say? Sha'ah achat, one moment of work in this world is not even compared to all the joy in the next world. Why? Because in this world we create. We create the art. once we finish creating and we leave this world, there's no more making art. The art is created here where you can choose. Where you have a body, where you can choose good over evil. And that's why we love this world. Now, don't get me wrong. When I say we love this world, we don't love indulging in the physical. We don't love indulgence. But we love using the world to elevate ourselves. And the next world is where you have real joy. This world, you don't have real joy. Tell me a pleasure that lasts forever. Tell me. And in fact, the better the pleasure is, the shorter lived it lasts. The better the physical pleasure that it is, the shorter lived it lasts. The only real pleasure is if it's long term. If something is long term, then it's, don't get me wrong, we want you to have pleasure in this world. God wants you to have pleasure in this world. But don't make things that are temporary permanent, because they're not. Okay, so far, so good. Now let's talk about the mitzvah of redeeming those that are in captivity. So there's a Talmud which says, it doesn't say this about many things, but it says it about redeeming those that are hostages. It says, Pidyon shvuyim mitzvah rabahi. Redeeming those that are in captivity is a great mitzvah. And Maimonides, just that you should understand, listen to what he says. He says, Ve'en lecha mitzvah gdola kepidyon shvuyim. There's no greater mitzvah than redeeming those in captivity. And he says it's more important than giving any form of tzedakah. It's more important than giving clothes to those that are poor. Why? A poor person in the freezing cold without clothes, we say it's more important to free the hostage? Why? Every penny that you get, you should put towards paying the hostages. We'll see to how much. But look what it says. Why? Because someone who's in captivity, he's hungry, he's thirsty, he's probably without clothes, he's in danger. And somebody who turns his eyes away from this is going against many commandments in the Torah, which is, don't cleanse your heart, don't be stubborn in your heart. And don't close your hands. It says that when it comes to giving tzedakah, don't put a fist in your heart and say, oh, I don't care. Or don't hold your hand closed. Open it. There's two things. One, I want to help someone with my heart. And two, I'm doing it with my hand open. Action and feeling. When you give, you should give with your heart and your hand. Not just, that's why the Torah repeats itself. Then he says, you're also transgressing another commandment, which is, don't stand on your brother's blood. What does that mean? Does anyone know what that means? Don't stand. Does it mean that if someone's bleeding, you shouldn't stand on the blood? Huh? What does that mean? It means don't stand idly when you are watching somebody in pain. Let's say somebody is drowning. You have a mitzvah to save him. Why? Because of this commandment. Lo ta'amod adam recha. Don't watch. You can swim and say, okay, I'll just watch and leave it. It's not my problem. No. Lo ta'amod adam recha. Don't just stand idly on your brother's blood. It means if it's in your hands to save someone, do what you can to save them if they are in pain. Okay? And he goes through many, open your hands, your brother should live with you, make sure your family lives with you, not with someone else. There's many commandments. Jewish law, so that was Maimonides, the Talmud. The Jewish law, which is Shulchan Aruch, which is the final law, look what it says. It says that any moment where you don't redeem someone in captivity, when you could have done it, is as if you spilled blood, literally. You could have saved someone and you didn't. It's as if you spilled blood. Okay, that is, just to understand in general, why it's so important. I'm going to make this a little bit more interactive in a second. But the question is, what is the value? What is the cost? What happens if they ask billions of dollars to free somebody? In that situation, what do we do? Now, by the way, for the most part, Pidyon Shvuyim is general, but for the most part, redeeming those in captivity was done for money. By the way, where's the commandment in the Torah not to steal, not to take a hostage? I kind of said it by mistake, but whatever. Right? Where's the commandment?
Not
In
to
the
steal. When it says don't
Right.
steal.
Lo tignov. Don't steal. By the way, listen to this. This is fascinating because it relates to the terror. This is what it says. So it says like this: the mitzvah of not stealing is the commandment not to kidnap. Do you know the 10 commandments? One of them is don't steal. Is that talking about money? No. It's not talking about money. You know why? We have other places where it talks about don't steal money. In the 10 commandments, these are very severe commandments, like don't murder, don't commit adultery, and don't steal. Right? 6, 7, and 8. Don't steal is not just don't steal. Rashi and commentary and the Talmud says, Gonev nefashot. It's talking about stealing souls, not stealing money. That's already somewhere else. And how do we know? Because it's written 3 times, don't steal. And in the 10 commandments, it's in the section of, it's surrounded by don't murder, don't commit adultery, and don't steal. Those are things that deserving of capital punishment. And stealing someone's life is, according to Judaism, deserving of death, capital punishment. Interesting. That doesn't mean that it would be easy to enforce. There's a lot of laws when it comes to capital punishment, but no. Just like don't murder is capital punishment, so too, don't steal, deserving of capital punishment if you steal someone's life and you take them hostage. Do you know why? It's like you take someone hostage, what did you do? You killed them. You killed their dignity, you killed their everything. Right? That's why. Okay. Rashi, it's so bad. Look what Rashi says. Why is Pidyon Shvuim the biggest level of tzedakah? Commentary says, because when you're in the hands of the world, he can do whatever he wants with you. La sotbo kol chafatzo. He can do with this person anything he wants. He can kill him, he can starve him, he can, all of it. And there's actually a verse in the Torah which goes through a list of all different types of pains. It's a verse in Jeremiah, I think. And it goes through the list of different pains. And then what does it say? The worst is Shevi, captivity. That's the worst, hostage. It's the worst type of pain that someone can go through. Okay, so what do you think is the value? Anyone know? How much? What happens if they ask for $1 billion? Before we get to the laws of terrorism, because the exchange with terrorists is, you give me 1,000 terrorists, I'll give you some lives back, right? That's a little different. We're first of all talking about money, because that's where most of this is talking about, and then we'll go into the laws of terrorism. Okay, so what does it say? It's crazy that we're even talking about it. So what does it say about the value? How much do you think? Anything? What's the problem? If anyone was here on Shabbat, you'll know. What's the problem of paying too much for someone in captivity?
You encourage them to do it again.
You're encouraging them to do it again. Oh, you're giving them an incentive. Yeah, what are you going to say?
You're glorifying them.
You're glorifying them. They're going to keep doing this. It's a good money maker. Oops. It's a good money maker. I just took an ant in captivity. No joking. So it's a money maker. What else? Did you know that it also says, separate point, you can't free them if you know that they have more hostages. Why? Same concept. If you free one and you know that there are more in their hands, what's going to happen? Well, they're going to ask for more, maybe, but either way, they're going to be more cruel to those that are currently captives. They're going to say, oh, that didn't work. We need to put them deeper underground. Not so simple. Okay? So even that isn't so simple. So let's go through. What is the limit? What is the reason? Or what is the limit to redeeming? So you guys said it good. It says in the Mishnah in Gittin, in the Talmud, you cannot redeem those in captivity more than their own value worth. How to determine the value is a big question, but this is what it says. Why? Mipnei tikkun olam. Because of the embedment of the world. Mipnei tikkun olam. You cannot redeem captives more than their value. We'll determine what that means. Why? Mipnei tikkun olam. Because of the embetterment of the world. What does that mean? So the Talmud gives two reasons. Very important to know both reasons. One is if it's too high and they keep raising the price, this is a reason you've not given yet, is it's going to be duchkat de tzipura. It's going to get too much on the community. They steal a captive and they ask for $1 billion. So the whole community goes together. They say, oh, big mitzvah. They give $1 billion. What are they going to do again? They're going to do it again. And what's going to happen? It's going to be too much for the community. Meaning that no one says that the entire community should be poor for the sake of a hostage. That's not what the Torah would require of us. So that's the first answer. The second answer is because they'll learn to do it again. Okay, so the first answer is it's too expensive for the community and it doesn't make sense that everyone should be poor. The second answer is because they'll do it again. What is the difference between those two answers? Does anyone know? What would be the difference? Is anyone following me? Yeah. So, I wouldn't have known this, but this is what Rashi says. A commentary says, like this. He says, where is it? Oh, what happens if someone's very, very wealthy or the community has unlimited money? What happens if the community has unlimited money? They have no problem with money. Whatever they ask, they can pay. They have banks all over the world. There's people with unlimited wealth. What would happen?
Kind of like slavery, because you're putting a price on the person, right?
Okay, we'll talk about that in a second. I want to go through what is the value. Okay, so if you say that the reason why you can't redeem, it's very important to follow with this thought. If you say you can't redeem someone because it's too much for the community, here's not too much for the community. There's someone who's very wealthy and he can pay for it. If you say the problem is because they're going to keep doing it, then I don't care how much money you have. If you're going to have a lot of money, they're still going to keep doing it. That's a problem. So even if you have a lot of money, don't allow it. Okay? There's two reasons that the Talmud give. Either to we don't want to make the community poor, or because we don't want them to do it again. What do we hold like? For the most part, we hold like the idea that we don't want them to do it again. And we actually hold like this. And that's what the Talmud, the Shulchan Aruch, the Jewish law says, that you don't free hostages for more than their value because they'll do it again and again and again. And listen to this. There's a story that I mentioned on Shabbat. Maharam of Rothenburg from Germany in the 13th century. Reb Meir Baruch. Listen to this. He's written in the back of the Talmud. He writes his commentary. He was amazing, a prodigy. And he wrote many works on Torah. And the last years of his life, he was taken captive. This is a real story. He was taken captive for the last years of his life, and the head of the king wanted money from the whole Jewish community. He said, we took your head rabbi. And what did the rabbi say? They got the money. They got the money that he wanted, a tremendous amount. And the rabbi said, I'm not going free. Don't send the money. He sent them a note. Do not give them the money. Why? Because if you do, they're going to do this again. And do you know what happened? He died in prison. That's how he ended his life. And many asked, there's many writers that came later, Maharshal, many rabbis that came later, and they asked, how did he do that? Why did he do that? We have a rule that if it's someone who's very, very great, then maybe we should put in even more than the value of a person. What happens? That's another question. What happens if it's you? What happens if it was you? And you have unlimited money? Would you say, I can't do it because it's more than my value? Or would you say, I'll put whatever I got as long as I have life? I'd rather live. I'll give all my money. Huh?
I'll give all my money.
You would give all the money. The Talmud says, if it's you yourself, then the rule of not giving more than a person's value doesn't apply. Interesting. Why? Because it's you yourself. It's personal. It's not on anybody. It's only you. Yeah, they may do it again, but it doesn't matter. It's you. So if they do it to you again, at the end of the day, we can't stop you from saving yourself under all cost. But when it comes to the public, there is an underlying theme of you can't overcharge, you can't overpay for a hostage. Okay. There's much more than this, but I didn't want to get too much into it. Basically, there are two answers in the Talmud. One is because it's too much for the community, and one is because we don't want these people to take hostages again and again and again. Okay? And we hold of both reasons. If one falls apart, will be more easy to stand with the other reason. Okay? Okay. But in general, we do think of the idea of not making a hostage being taken again and again. Okay. However, there's a question like this, and there's a story in the Talmud of a great rabbi, Rabbi Yeshua ben Hananiah, who went to Rome, and they told him there's a beautiful Jewish kid. This Jewish kid, he's taken hostage, go and see him. And they liked this rabbi, so they let him go in Rome. And he went to see him, and he asked him questions. He said, why are you here? He says, they took me. He said, why did they take you? He said, it's the Jewish people are not doing what they should be. There's too much arguments in the Jewish people. That's why I got taken. A little boy taken hostage. And that's what he said. He said, that's what you say? He says, what a great child. This child's going to be a great rabbi one day. A young kid saying such things. He said, this child's going to be a great rabbi one day. And he says, I promise I'm not leaving this place until I redeem you with every penny that I can get hold of. And no matter what they asked for. And that's what they did. They let him go. He paid a tremendous ransom, hundreds times more than the value of a person. And within a very small time, this person that he freed became the leading rabbi of the Jewish people. This little boy became a great rabbi. He freed him, paid a tremendous amount, and became a great rabbi. On this, everyone asks, how did he pay so much money? He's paying more than the value. Do you know what they say? So they say a number of reasons. One is because he was in danger of life. This child was in physical starvation, danger. And when someone's in danger, you pay anything. So there's another reason that the Tosfot, a great commentary, says that when someone's in danger of life, of real life risk, of danger, then you'll pay anything. And that's what Tosfot says. There's another explanation that the Tosfot says. This was at the time of the destruction of the temple. The time of destruction. Time of destruction, a time of hate. You could pay any price. Do you know why? Why, when it's a time of hate, like a war, it's okay to pay a higher price? Anyone following? Okay, because you're saving a life. But there's another reason. He already said that as one of the reasons, because you're saving someone who's in danger. There's a bigger reason.
It might lead to more destruction.
If you save someone, no. I'm
dealing with that.
Oh,
Make it that
right.
whole city ransom.
Right. You should know. Let's say in Germany, the Nazis, if you had a chance to pay a tremendous amount of money to free some Jews, would you do it? More than their value? Of course, more than the value. Why? Why? Logic is with it. Why, when it's during a war, what we call Shat HaShmad, a time of destruction, where they want to destroy all the Jews? Why in a time of war, it's not just a regular captivity, it's not a regular hostage, it's a time of war, do we say you should pay even more?
Because there's more uncertainty about the preservation of that group.
Yes, there's more uncertainty.
Because you need people.
We need people to survive, okay. What was the original reason we said don't pay more than the value? You don't want them to do it again. Will they do it again anyways?
But it sets a precedent. So it says.
Okay, but if it's a bunch of Nazis that are wiping out all Jews.
No, I'm saying it sets a precedent for the Jewish people to know that our lives are priceless.
Okay, it's good to know that our life is priceless, that's true. And during a war, it's okay to make that message. I like that. Okay? But I want to go from a halachic perspective. The halachic perspective is they might do it again. Either way, they're going to do it again. If Hamas could, they will take all of us hostage. If they could, they will do it again and again and again. How do I know? They say it. They say it themselves. So if they say they're going to do this again and again and again, are we worried that maybe they'll do it again? Of course we're worried they'll do it again. Either way they're going to do it again. Whether I pay or I don't pay, they like the idea of taking hostages because they have a chance of getting some of their terrorists back. Do you get it? Either way, they're going to do it. So for that reason, the logic falls apart. In a time of destruction, the Tosfot says this is why this big rabbi paid a tremendous money for this child, is because, well, also was a child, but he doesn't use that as a reason. He paid way more than the amount. Why? Because his life was in danger, and because it was a time of destruction. Either way, they're going to do it again and again and again. Doesn't make a difference. Okay. I want to get a little, so there's 3 different reasons, and we'll make a conclusion. I want to go to, what about terrorists? We're going to get there. Okay, because we had to have this whole introduction just to get to what about terrorists when it comes to them. How do we value someone? Can you value someone? Are you worth more than any money in the world? Absolutely. Like we said, if you want to redeem yourself from prison, from hostage, then how much would you pay for yourself? All your money, right? How much value, what does it mean that a person has a certain amount of value and you don't want to pay more than the value? What's the value of a person? So, the Talmud and many commentaries say that whenever it talks about value, it means how much it will cost to have this person working for you for the rest of your life. Because since it's a monetary value, obviously you are worth all the money in the world. But if we want to talk about monetary value, how much would it be to have this person as my slave, working for me for the rest of my life? Okay, back then it would be the slave. Today it will be working for me the rest of my life. That's a tremendous amount of money, by the way. But not more, that's what it says, not more than that. Some say, no. Whatever the world will pay. You look at the measurement, you can't be less than what the world will pay for someone's life. If the world will pay a certain amount of money, and it's much more than the value of the person in money, then you go by what the world will pay. Okay, whatever. This is the general idea when it comes to captivity. Conclusion, what did I say? The main reason why we don't pay more than a certain amount is because they shouldn't do it again and again and again. Okay. If you are paying for yourself, that's okay. You can pay whatever you want. That's for sure fine. And that's also brought down in the halacha, in Jewish law. Relatives can also pay more because you have another reason that they are relatives, so they are willing to pay any cost. Relatives can pay more. And in general, if it's danger to someone's life, and we know that someone is in danger, then you can pay more than the value also. It's only when you know that they want money. But if you know that they're in danger, and that was the situation here, they are definitely in danger, and we had to go to war, so they are definitely in danger, we have the idea that we can pay even more than their value for the sake of saving them. Okay, what about terrorists? Now here, are you paying money? Are you paying money? 0, no money. How much is a terrorist worth? Say it loud, I can't hear you. Nothing, yes. How much is a Jewish little kfir bibas worth? Everything, right? So when it comes to value, 0, everything. Never forget that. They are worth 0. There's a separate point that if we free terrorists, there are 2 problems. What are the 2 problems of freeing terrorists? We said one of them till now. That was my whole class till now. Right? What's the problem of freeing terrorists? They're going to do it again. Right? 0 plus 0, whatever. Bunch of idiots. They're going to do it again. What's the second problem?
We're going to indoctrinate more people.
We're making more terror.
They're gonna harm you.
No, so they're going to do it again. They're going to harm more Jews. Oh, the terrorists are going to harm Jews. They themselves are going to kill Jews. Are you allowed to indirectly kill a Jew? No. These terrorists are literally saying, they're like, right? It's like letting them out of a cage. And they're around, it's like in the Gladiator, you open it and then, So they're ready to do an act of terror. And we've seen that they've done it again and again and again. So are you allowed to, is that murder?
Yeah.
If you indirectly let a terrorist out, is that murder?
It's not murder, but something else.
It's still breaking the law. It's just not.
Okay, let's go through this. It's indirect. It's definitely not direct murder. Freeing a terrorist into a place which may end, we're not putting him back into our neighborhood. We're putting him into a place where, back to Gaza, to the rubbles of whatever, Khan Yunis, right? So he's going to go there. I am concerned that he might come and do an act of murder if he has the ability, but he also may not. It's not direct. What's the language for an indirect murder? No, there's a name for it. No. There's a name for it. Second degree, maybe, or something like that. Okay. This wouldn't even be second degree. Okay.
Involuntary.
Involuntary. Okay, so the question is like this. They're going to for sure kill Jews if you free them. And number two, they're going to use this tactic again and again. We take hostages, we get 1,000 terrorists. Let's do this again and again and again. And that's why the Gilad Shalit definitely inspired them to do it again and again. Okay. So this actually was questioned many years ago, starting with Rabbi Ovadia Yosef in nowadays, okay? With the story of Entebbe. Does anyone know the story? Yeah. So there was a plane from Air France, flying from France to Israel, and terrorists got on the plane. 104 Jews were on that flight. Some very great rabbis were on that flight too. And they took the plane 4,000 kilometers to Uganda. And the evil people in Uganda agreed to do this, which is terrible. But they took them to Uganda, and they wanted what? No, they didn't want money, the Palestinians. They wanted 40 terrorists. You see how the numbers have changed over the years. They wanted 40 terrorists for the 104 hostages that they took in this flight. So that's exactly the same question. And that was the first time they really dealt with it on a larger scale. Okay? So, it's basically we've got to fix two questions. They're going to do it again. And the other question is, am I actively killing Jews by freeing 50 terrorists? Now, there's a Talmud like this. Stay with me. We're going to get exciting. Okay? Helping a person like this. It's a Tosefta in Trumot, if anyone wants to search this. Chapter 7, 27. You can find it on Safari with translation. If people come up to you and they say, give us one of your Jews, we need a scapegoat, we will kill him in front of everyone. If not, we're killing the whole town. What do you do? Give the person or kill the whole town? Let the whole town be killed?
You risk the whole town being killed. You can't.
Why not? Why can't you give that person?
Because if you give that person, they're going to die for sure. If you risk the whole town being killed, you don't know.
No, they are for sure going to kill the whole town. They're angry. They are going to kill the whole town. Either give us one, we'll kill. We'll hang him.
Take that choice.
Yeah, you're actively choosing.
Very good. Very good. You can't actively give over someone because you are directly causing murder. So it says, let everyone die. Let everyone die, don't give him. Now this is a little interesting. Why? We have a number of cases and I want to see how it's similar. The Chazon Ish was asked a question. What happens if a grenade is thrown at soldiers and there's a group of soldiers here, there's not much space to go, and the soldier has an ability to throw the grenade to that side, but there's 2 soldiers over here, there's 10 soldiers here. Says the Chazon Ish, it's the same as the story in the Talmud. You can't actively do an action which kills someone else. Let it be.
Even if you're saving more, but still making a
Yes,
choice.
because you are, in life, we can't actively be a murderer. Let me ask you another question. Here, interesting. Listen, because at the end of the day, what we become as people is what matters. And I'll give you an example. If, let's say, at the top of a building, someone throws, I'm sure you've heard this story in the Talmud before, if you've been around enough with Jewish events, someone throws a vase, right, from the top of the building. As it's coming down, someone takes a Japanese sword and smashes it. Okay? The guy, who has to pay for the broken vase?
The person who dropped it.
The guy that dropped it, or the guy that takes the knife and smashes it in half?
The guy with the knife.
The guy with the knife, the person that dropped it. What do you think? See, there he actively did an action, but the Talmud says that, no, the one that threw it from the roof is the one that did it because he threw down a broken vase. As it's coming down, is that vase inevitable to break?
Yes.
Yes. So you smash it, you brought the broke a few seconds earlier. But at the end of the day, who broke it? The guy from the top. Because what you broke, the guy with the knife, it calls it a broken vase. He already broke a broken vessel. Make sense? Here's another question though, and this changes. What happens if a human being was thrown, God forbid, down a building? And we know for sure he's going to die. And someone else comes with a gun. I'm sorry for saying this. The Talmud gives a worse example. Someone uses a knife and catches him with a sword. Okay? Huh? Who? I'm sorry if this, but think, logic. Who is liable there? The guy with the sword that made him die a few seconds earlier? I gave you the answer. Or the one that threw him from the top? He's a dead person, he's falling down.
Someone could have saved him on the way.
Could have saved him.
No, they couldn't have saved him. No, there's no way.
Every second.
Twin Towers.
You might be able to
He's falling for the Twin Towers, someone on the way down.
He's actively killing.
Oh, because the Talmud uses the language, not only actively killing, you brought his death closer. And that already, even for a second, you brought his death closer, you are liable.
Is the first person still liable in that scenario?
No. He's not allowed to do it. He's not allowed to do it, and he'll be in trouble. Like he'll have laws of payment or whatever. But the person that actually did the act of murder is the one at the bottom. He's the worst.
But his intention was murder.
But it has to be something.
Yes, he's not allowed to do it. If you intend to murder someone, but you don't actually end up doing it, is that the same as murdering someone? No. Attempted murder is different. That will be a big punishment from Jewish perspective, but we ourselves can't tell you that that's an act of murder directly. Okay? We can't tell you that's deserving of a capital punishment. It's the person that kills him, yes.
Okay, what if somebody's in hospice and they're on their last leg of life and they're inevitably going to pass?
Right.
And it's just about a matter of quality of life.
Are they considered brain dead and completely dead in terms of clinically?
They're in a vegetative state, and their loved one has the responsibility and they have ownership of deciding whether or not they can pull the plug.
Right, in every situation is different. If a certain part of their body, of their brain, has been disconnected, then it already enters a new realm of question. Okay? There's actually a story of the Talmud where someone was brain dead, and the rabbis prayed for him to die. And there's actually a story recently of someone that did that also. He said, we don't want to be the one acting the act of murder, but they prayed for his death. The Rabbi Yosef did it with his sons and a few other rabbis. They went to the person. His wife was already for 20 years waiting, and she didn't want to. She was waiting, and she wanted to move on with her life, and she's suffering with him being in this state of a. And they went. They prayed around the thing. They did certain prayers. They left. He died that night. So there are even today stories of that. So it's not so simple, and you're asking a good question. But we want to avoid an act of murder. Once it comes to someone who's already on the way out, that's a different story, okay? And if they are, yeah.
Okay, if we're talking about taking somebody's dignity, which is,
Right. It's technically not an act of murder if they are already completely brain dead and not able to function. Most times that's not the case. A certain part of the brain is able to function. If they were to wake up, they would come back to life. And there's times where they say, yeah, pull the plug, pull the plug, pull the plug. Jews said, no. And the person lived for another 5 years. So what do we say about that? And every second that a person lives is value. So we have to first know That's why it depends. You have to really, every scenario, you have to ask the rabbis, you have to find out from the doctors, give the exact details, there's a certain part of the brain which disconnects, and then if that does, then that person is on, then there's no way that that person can come back to life. There is a certain point. So that's another thing. Okay, that's a different discussion. I don't want to go into that. That's another whole class. We won't do that. So we're going to finish off very quickly. One more question. So we said the grenade, you're actively killing him. Okay? What happens if, this is the famous story of Rabbi Akiva, this is the Talmud in Baba Metzia, 62. You're in the desert, and there's only two people, there's only one bottle to drink, and if you drink it, one of you will survive. If you don't drink, no one will survive, and you'll get to your destination, you won't get there, right? So either one drinks the bottle, and one of you survives, or no one drinks, and you both just let yourself die. So the first answer in the Talmud is, Ben Petorah, this is a great rabbi in the Talmud, says, no. It says in the Torah, V'chai achicha imach, your brother should live with you. You must make sure that your brother lives with you. You can't go and drink it and then live whilst your brother's dying. You can't do that. That's the first answer. Rabbi Akiva says, you can drink the water. Why? Because first, it says, V'chai achicha imach. You have to live to have your brother live with you. No one says, die because your brother's not going to live with you. Right? You do everything you can to keep your brother living with you. But if you're going to die, right, it says first you live. He has to live with you, meaning you have to be alive in order for him to live with you. So therefore, you drink the water. Now, everyone gets tricky when the guy steals it or whatever. That's another story. But in a situation where there's just two of you and there's water, you come first. Chayecha kodmin. Are you actively killing the person in that case? No, you're indirectly. That's why it's allowed. You're drinking, you're not actively throwing the grenade, you're actively killing someone. A train is going in this way, and it's going to kill 10 people. If I turn the train in that direction, it will kill one person. By the way, this is very important for AI. You know those cars? My kid loves two cars. He loves the Waymo, and what other one? Cybertruck. All day. The Waymo and Cybertruck. So if the Waymo is designed with AI, what do they tell the machine? 10 people or one? Huh? Well, stop. That's a good answer. That is a good answer. It's going in a way that it can't control its speed. And it went downhill, the snow, whatever. God forbid. Okay, they do have to program. And there's big questions when it comes to these things. So if the train's you are driving that train, and you can make the train go in that direction, it will kill one. Or you can just leave it and it will kill 10. What do you do?
According to your logic before, you have to kill 10.
You're not killing, because you're letting it go. Okay, let me tell you, what about the hostages? When I free a hostage, when I free a hostage, but I also free the terrorist, and we'll finish with this. When I'm freeing a terrorist, am I killing someone? Almost killing someone. It's almost. He's going to do everything he can to kill someone. I'm almost like I'm killing someone. I'll open the gates of hell and let them out. So I'm almost killing someone in order to get someone's life. Is that the same story? Is that the same story as what we spoke about till now? Am I actively killing someone to save someone? No, it's not the same story, because I'm not doing it direct. Okay, it's indirect. And for that reason, by the hostages, I'm not actively killing Jews to save hostages. And this is why everyone's going mad. How can we do this? A lot of our ego is being broken. But if you remember the story with Abraham and Lot, your ego should never be broken. We should be up there in ego, because we as Jews are only for life. We fight for life. We don't care about anything else. That should be your ego. We have real values as a people. But outside of that, the hostages. I am freeing a hostage. Am I actively killing Jews by freeing the terrorists? The answer is no, I'm not actively killing Jews. And therefore, we have a rule, en safek motzi midei vadai. There's a guaranteed danger that the hostage is not gonna survive. He's just not going to survive. It's been 460 days. How long can they last? So there's a guaranteed danger for the hostage. there's not a guaranteed danger that if I free a terrorist, he's going to hurt more Jews. It's almost guaranteed, but it's indirect. And for that reason, there are many, many reasons to save the hostages. Now, outside of all of this, do you know what really should happen? And this is what the Lubavitcher Rabbi used to say. What we should really do is kill the terrorists.
Yeah, don't get them in prison.
And then, this is the real problem. Kill the terrorists, don't have them. Kill them.
I got a question.
Okay. Wait, I just want to finish. I just want to finish with a final point. I want to take your question. The great Rabbi Yashiv and many rabbis say the same thing, that since they are willing to repeat their action again and again and again anyway, whether we give them back or don't give them back, either way, they're going to repeat this. Because it's a time of destruction. They are claiming that they want to just destroy us completely, and they're going to do this again and again and again. We're allowed to pay more than their value in order to free them. Okay, and this makes sense why they are in danger, immediate danger, and why, in a way, it's okay to make the hostage deal, even though it's very, very painful. And don't get me wrong, I'm against the whole idea of 1,000 terrorists, but I saw those pictures of these poor little girls going back to their mothers, crying. And for anyone that was arguing, how can this happen? God forbid, what happens if it was your family member? How can we ignore that pain? And it is. I'm excited to see those little children coming home too. And you know what? The terrorists can be freed. They're not going to keep their deal, because that's what we've been saying. They're just destructive. They want to do it again and again. They'll try and send the rocket. Please God. They're in God's hands. That's what we said. It's not in our control. And one beautiful rocket will come straight to where all the 1,000 free terrorists are. In one shot. Boom. Yalla. Amen. Thank you very much for listening. Right. Am Yisrael. The Jewish people are alive. That's what we want. Life. What were you going to say? Adam.
Questions? Anyone who needs to go, welcome to.
You had the opportunity to eliminate all of Hamas, but you lose 5 hostages. Would you do it?
Wait,
Am I killing the hostages?
Yes.
I can't do it.
Only 5. For all of Hamas.
you can't.
I can't do that.
You can't.
I can't actively know that I'm going to kill the hostages.
You can't. We'll let God handle that, but we can't do that.
Yeah.
What do you say to the families who are impacted by the terrorists who are blowing up buses and restaurants and stuff, and they're not going to be able to deal with it?
It's very hard. What can you say? But I have a question. How much is the terrorist worth? How much is the person that you love worth? Same concept of what I've been saying. How much is the terrorist worth that killed your own family member? -0. Nothing. How much is the life of your brother worth? Everything. And if we had the chance to bring back your brother, would you let us? They will say yes. So let's do that to this person. And sometimes there's no answer. When someone's emotional, there's no answer. That's what I'm saying. I don't always have the right answers to everything, but I want it to come from a halachic perspective. Either way, it's very hard, because it seems like morality is immoral both ways. And that's why we're in a real dilemma. And that's why you need Torah to direct us what the right thing to do is.
How are you? Sorry,
Anyway. David HaMelech said, I chase my energies. I chase my enemies until I kill them. That's what we should be doing. You touch one of ours, we'll touch one of yours. You hurt one of ours, you take off their finger, I'll take off 2 of your terrorist Sinwa's fingers. We have 1,000 terrorists. That's what should be done. Whatever you do to us, we'll do 5 times more to your terrorists.